Epigenetics. If a fairy mother has a fairy baby, do you think this is because of a mother's DNA? In other words, by nature? Or her growing method, the nurturing, is the problem? Well, this has been a big debate for a long time, and this is not easy question. To make the experiment simpler, let's say one parent has two babies, and those two babies are identical twins. Then the control is much clearer. Those two babies has exactly same genetic information, and one grows up as a fatty person and the other grows up in a good shaped person by good maintaining. Now this is a clear evidence that nurturing is very important factor. Let's look at another example. Let's say there are the good mother and then there are bad mothers. How do you define good mother? Good mother giving the more licks and grooming for the babies, and bad mother is barely lick the babies. Not surprisingly, this good mother's character is transferred to the offsprings, and bad mother's character also inherited to the babies. Not surprising. So by this, you may think this character is by nature. So means that their genetic structure may be different. Now, if you change those offsprings, what do you think? Now let's monitor these two babies. Originally, the black baby is from bad mother's family, but she grows up and became good mother. How about the white rat? Originally, she's from good mother's family, but she became bad mother. So clearly, it shows that the good mother is not made by nature. Good mother was made by nurture. How about the next babies? And interestingly, now the F2 is following the similar pattern. So the black rats, they are in good the mother family, and the white rat became bad mother family. Now then, what decides who I'm going to be? Maybe DNA sequence, the nature is important, but the way we live, this is also important to determine what kind of a person I'm going to be. In Mendelian genetics, the genotype and phenotype should match. If there is any change in phenotype, there should be some changes in genotype. That was Mendelian genetics. Now, we see the case that phenotype and genotype is not matching. That means genotype is the same, but somehow phenotype is changed. Now, this kind of a new situation. Now, genetics becomes more complicated. Now, we call this genetics as epigenetics. Epi means from above, so this is above genetics. Maybe nurture is important, but how does it work? This is the question. Let's think about gene expression. So here is a DNA, and there is an area so-called promoter. If there is any binding protein, come here, and then it recruits the activating domain, then it can start the gene expression. So in this picture, this area is the gene part. So eventually this information is transcribed and translated into protein. So to turn on this gene, there should be some help from promoter area and its helpers like this. Well, the gene expression is a much more complicated process. Now, the DNA binding motif binds to the promoter. It recruits the activators and some other accessory proteins, then finally it can recruit RNA polymerase, maybe ready to make a RNA, but still, from the remote site, so-called enhancer site, there is another activator and mediator. Then the mRNA synthetase can start the synthesis of mRNAs. So that means by regulating these small factors, it's totally possible that the gene expression can be regulated. That means even though the individual has exactly the same genetic information, the DNA sequence is the same. Still, if the gene expression is different, the end result can be different. So we have seen some complicated gene expression mechanism, but if it should be very general, then what can be the general mechanism of a gene expression control?